Welcome to the podcast. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. We were just talking before the show started about how the Oni masks that you make, it seems like they're everywhere in every 3D printing ad. Do you think that you're the impetus for this craze or this obsession with Oni
Yeah,
masks and 3D printing?
pretty likely that I started. Yeah.
What is it? What is the meaning of the Oni mask?
Uh, it's the aesthetics of it is so beautiful because it's like you scare your enemy with it, and samurai would wear it in their ceremonial practices,
Hmm.
not necessarily in battle. From the documentaries and stuff that I watched about it, but it's symbolic, and I like the symbolism of just like kind of like being like a gargoyle, where we
Hmm.
scare away the evil and put fear into our art.
You mentioned one of your videos that the Oni mask was like a protection from, it's like your own demons. It's not really meant
Mhm.
to say that I'm a bad guy. It's more like can you explain that for me?
It's a reminder to go hard, reminder to ignore others people's opinions and thoughts and insecurities that I might have inside of me, and it's
Hmm.
just a way for me to fight against any of those insecurities so I can keep pushing forward and keep making
That
stuff.
fighting against your insecurities. I think that's a really interesting message. It's not expected. It has a deeper meaning that really resonates with me personally. Because, honestly, I have a lot of insecurities. I think that I'm nervous whenever I try to put together words or whenever I try to, come up with content for my YouTube or my TikTok. I can't think of the right words. And I'll use like ChatGPT to, because I'm not confident. And I heard in one of your videos that you had early access to ChatGPT. Is that true?
Yeah, I did. Well, it was a open AI at the time. Back then, they were they were letting people use Dolly, and then I was using like the AI stuff on Google Docs that people can download for free, and it was a headache. And then when ChatGPT came out, I started playing with it a little bit.
How often do you use it?
Now I only use it like on a conversational level. Like I talk to it, ask it questions about things. Like if I have a curiosity
Hmm.
about something, I would ask it things like, "What's the psychological driver behind why this person is doing this or doing that?" Or and then like it shoots it out, so it gives me an answer that I can kind of look into deeper.
You think it's has a good psychological insight? Like, you think it's
Um,
better if you talk to a psychologist? You think it would know because it has access to all of the studies? It's probably read them all into its into its model.
I have it give me general answers back, so I don't have to. Yeah, I just keep it's simple. Like it
Uh-huh.
doesn't give me as complex answers as a psychologist would, but it's like it it helps me uh, like give the thoughts that I have like a name, a label, a thing to look up more. Like if I have a question about anxiety or something like that, then it'll give me an answer about like um, general anxiety disorder, and then I'll okay, so that gives me a direction to go into looking into it, like buying a book about general anxiety disorder.
You used to use it. I mean, you used it in your art, like literally taking the words from the Chat GPT and incorporating them into artwork.
Sort of like I use it kind of like a history quiz kind of resource. Like I would ask it, oh, okay, can you tell me a little bit more about the history of samurai or something like that, and it give me some historical meanings behind the mask and why they wear it, and then it'll give me general answers, kind of like how a Wikipedia article would be like. So that's what I like, and then I can go into a deeper dive on that.
Now, I've always been fascinated by samurai. I haven't actually delved too deep in it, but can you tell me what is it? What inspires you about samurai?
It's just the art of it, just the art of the mask. Even looking up documentaries about how samurai swords are made, um, and how they gather the materials and metals and the process that they go through into making these intricate things that take a long time,
Hmm.
and they just didn't have the tech that we have today. And so I'm like, oh, how can I bridge that technology and art together? And it's just beautiful. I just all the intricate designs I love.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of videos on YouTube about making samurai swords, like forging samurai
Hmm.
swords. Most of them are about replicas. And it
Hmm.
basically was a really early art, metalworking that was much more advanced in its time.
Hmm.
Even today, it's hard to make that kind of metal. And it
Hmm.
was really about just an incredible amount of effort and time and attention to detail, just ridiculous amount of effort just to get that quality. And would you say those
Yes.
are what defines like a good art also? It's just like an insane amount of quality, an insane amount of effort just to get that kind of final 5% of quality.
Sure. And it also takes a lot of wisdom that they had back then and insight, because it's like you have to figure out where these metal deposits are happening in the sand on these different points of rivers. And I'm just like, how the hell did they know that? Like, like they don't have microscopes back in the day. It's like they just know how to find this special sand with this special metal with this iron oxide in there or whatever is and
Yeah,
steel.
exactly. I mean, how did they know it was iron oxide? Did it was it just a
Yeah, it's
sand
like
that had a special color that they knew that worked? Where did they
yeah, they know,
learn?
and they figure out the difference between blue steel and white steel, and how to work with patinas on their swords because they
Hmm.
start to rust and things like that, and they got to take care of it. And how they get like that hard back end and that soft blade all mixed together to work together and has this beautiful harmony. And that's where it's like, and that's what draws my inspiration with a lot of my art is like I follow a lot of kind of like the yin and yang concept, Taoism, Wu Wei philosophies.
Can you tell me about those philosophies?
Yeah, kind of like the Lao Tzu Taoism stuff would be the things that like Bruce Lee talks a lot about being fluid, um, going with the flow. And then Wu Wei would be like effortless action, where it's like
Mhm.
sometimes the hardest things that we do takes the easiest amount of effort, or like if you want to do hard things, make it easy, kind of like that.
I love your TikTok channel, and you really had a lot of success with it. You
Mhm.
have millions of followers, like more than a million on TikTok alone. Did you anticipate that success when you started?
No, I didn't. I just let it. I just think about the day and wake up and I go, okay, what I want to work on today, and I just kind of work on my curiosities and just post what I'm working on, kind of like documenting it. When my
Hmm.
channel first started off with me just sketching every day, something so easy, just 5 minutes a day, and most of the time those 5 minutes turn into hours, and I access
Hmm.
this thing called flow state. So that's the goal I try to get into, but I don't chase it, which is flow state.
You
I
don't
don't chase it.
try to
I
get
just
into flow state. You just let it happen. I mean, yeah,
mm-hmm.
you don't want to like force yourself into flow state. That you can't do that, right?
No.
I'm trying to learn myself, honestly. I really wish I could get into a flow state because that would be big for me because I'm really my thoughts are always crowding my head with like this and that and this and this and this and that, and it would be great
Mm-hmm.
if I could just get into a flow state, be able to just create in a moment. But I think in one of your videos you said it's okay to overthink your art. I mean, what did you say that?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I've been watching all of your earliest video. I spent like I've been binging your earliest videos like for 5 hours last night. So because you have so much content
Oh my god.
that
Okay.
I hope you don't mind. Um, so one of the you mentioned that when you got started, you did the live streams. How do you still do
Mhm.
live streams? And I mean, are they worth spending a lot of time on, or how would you?
Yeah, I did it before, um, because I was just drawing anyways, and then it was easy for me to talk and draw at the same time. But now it's kind of like I'm doing a lot of consumption of um, maybe like tutorials and stuff like that. So when I'm making my stuff now, I have to put a lot of focus into it, so I don't have the attention span to spread into doing live streaming as well as learning at the same time. It's like. It's two different directions, so I can't do it simultaneously. But drawing it was easy for me to do it and talk at the same time. So that's why I did live stream.
So you did it because it was content that flowed naturally from what you were already doing.
I don't really think about the content too much. I just make stuff and I film it along the way, and I don't
Mhm,
think about how I'm gonna put the video together until I get to that stage. Like I have all these little pieces of clips, like 1 second, half-second clips, and then
mhm.
I find a story at the end of it, kind of like, ooh, okay. I go back to my footage. I'm like, what did I make? And I look at him like, whoa, okay. I kind of see a story here, so I kind of stitch together my videos to have a beginning, middle, and end, and that's it. And I post it. I'm like, okay, I'm moving on with my day.
Yeah, here's a quote I wrote down. It says, "Film everything, film all the time, document everything, show the world your
Mm-hmm.
process, and throw perfectionism out the window." And I thought that was
Mm-hmm.
pretty profound.
Thank you.
Do you still do that?
Mm-hmm.
Is that still the method that you use?
Yeah, I sure do. I sure do. Even if it's like when I'm filming stuff, I throw attachment out the window, right? And I go, what? Like it's gonna mess me up if I think about the content first, about like posting the video, how much views the video's gonna get or something like that. It's like that's gonna mess me up. So I don't think about that until I put the video together.
So I'm gonna have to admit that it's kind of the opposite of what I do, and maybe I'm doing it wrong because, no, honestly, because I'm always thinking about, like, what'll happen is I want to work on a project, and I know that I need to record it, but if I start recording, like, I'm always doing something experimental, and then
Hmm.
like I'm starting, so I haven't done this before, and I want to get it right. And if I'm trying to record it and do that at the same time, I'll make more mistakes, and it won't go well. So I won't
Um,
want to record anything until I've at least done it once, right?
uh,
So it seems like
hmm.
the opposite of that would just to be to have the camera there all the time. You just mentally forget that it's there, and then it won't bother you when you're doing more experimental activities, like putting, like you're making something new.
Yeah. When I'm making something, and then I feel like like this dopamine shot inside of me of whatever I'm looking at with my own eyeballs. Like, ooh, oh, I like this, what I'm seeing here with my own eyeballs. And so I like take my phone out of my pocket and I just take like a second clip or 2 second, 3 second clip. Most of my footage is shot with me just holding my phone in my hand, no tripod. Sometimes I use a tripod.
Yeah, like I saw like a clip that I like was you show the 3D printer, but you filmed it through the plant, and you got the plant in the foreground. Like that was
Yeah,
cool. I mean, I love those shots.
thank you. Yeah, it's because I'm seeing it with my own eyeballs. I'm just like, oh crap, how can I like try to capture this with my phone camera?
No, then it works. It works great. And then the other thing that you do is you have these tutorials of the iPad, and
Mm-hmm.
you've got the light kind of like on the top of the frame, and you've got maybe
Mm-hmm.
your branding uh, up there too, and then but that's filmed with your iPhone filming your iPad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that works really well. Now, the Apple did an event when they did the iPad event, and they had an Oni mask. Did they talk to you about that? Do you involved in that in any way?
No.
Really? That's just the I'm telling you, this Oni mask is entirely in the zeitgeist now. I mean, even Apple is using it as the example of what you might do on an iPad. It's the core. It's seriously the core of their effort to get people to use the iPad, which is uh, using a pen to do 3D sculpting. And that 3D sculpting is an Oni mask. So I thought that was absolutely fascinating.
I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, it was in the Apple iPad release event, the last one.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I'm gonna look it up.
they were going through the new because it has such a powerful chip, and it's just like
Yeah.
they are now trying to put real software on the iPad, and of course that
Yeah.
software is 3D sculpting
Yeah.
and video editing. The two things that you make videos about when you do like software tutorials. Yeah, the Oni mask was the example, of course, and it's also in the 3D printing ads, like for the different companies when they have like a resin printer. There's an Oni mask on
Mm-hmm.
a printer now. Whenever you see that, so I thought that was super cool. And that really gets back to like the perhaps the technicality of the video. I mean, obviously, like, you put the first second is really important, and this and that, but perhaps it's just the deeper content that you're bringing to the platform. You're bringing your art through the Oni mask, and even if you presented it, even if your technique was one way or if it was a different way, it wouldn't matter because ultimately you're bringing your art to the platform, and people just want to see that.
I try. I just want to inspire. The biggest thing ever since I started was, did I inspire the other person on the other end of the screen to want to create?
That's a good way of looking at it.
So it's like I don't think about myself so much. It's about the other person on the other side of the screen.
Did I inspire
Like,
them? Hmm.
yeah, because like in art school and stuff like that, we work on these really beautiful drawings that look lifelike, and we just pretty much copy photographs all day. And I'm just like, why don't I just look at a photograph instead of a drawing of a person? Um, and then you look at all the people that's been there for a long time in art school and are way better than you. And sometimes you look at their art and just like, well, their drawings, and you go, wow, they suck. I mean, like they suck. They suck because they're so good, and they make me feel like crap, right?
Hmm.
Because I'm not as good. And so I remember having those kinds of feelings, and that's when I started like posting artwork that's not so perfect, because like I don't want to make other people on the other side of the screen feel less than. I want them to feel like they can do it too. You know, it's kind of
Hmm.
like there's just one scene in this show I used to watch on PBS called Zoom,
Yeah.
and they would make these little pizzas out of bagels, and it was just a so simple tutorial. And I used to do it. It was just tomato paste, cheese on the bagel, and you just put it in a microwave or something. And then I'm like, oh, that's like my favorite kind of pizza because I made it, right? Even though I can go to a restaurant and get a really nice pizza, but it was like it's because I made it. So I remember that feeling. And also, back in the day, they used to have like these cakes where you just add water and you make cake, but people didn't like that. They didn't buy that so much until they took the oil and the eggs out, and then people add their own eggs and oil to the cake mix, and then they felt like they made the cake. And so I
But
kind of
I
like,
thought about that. Yeah, I've heard that. I thought about that,
mhm.
and I was like, I'd really wish they would just put the egg back. I would love a cake mix that you just add water, and they just don't make it. I don't know why. I want to
Yeah,
see.
me too. I'm the same.
You have been concerned about recycling and the environment since the beginning of your TikTok career. And you mentioned recycling support waste. Can you discuss that process? I really want to know, what is it? How do you recycle the support waste? What do you do?
Now that was crazy. I made a video about it. It got like 30 something million views. I was like, what the frig? It was just like me just grinding up. I took a Ninja blender, grind up my supports, and I used it as filler with epoxy in
Hmm.
these silicone molds that I made.
So you wait. So you put it in a blender, you grind it up,
Yeah.
and then you put it in the silicone, and it makes like a texture.
Yeah. It like it like helps me use less epoxy when I'm filling my little molds that I make.
Oh yeah, well that's
Little
what I do to
casting.
my old silicone molds. Is you chop them up into little bits, and then
Hmm.
yeah, you use it
Oh,
as
maybe have you tried that yet?
recycling silicone.
Or recycling your supports and putting it into like your sculptures? Into your,
Everything that I make, I hate supports. I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I don't make onima. I make these specific things, but I try to make them that they don't require supports.
yeah.
But I do have a lot of
Hmm.
like failed prints and whatnot. I'm still trying to figure out what to do with those. I would like to use your method of grinding them up and putting them.
Yeah.
That would actually be a good idea. I'm really thinking of
'Cause
ways.
I always find it fascinating for recycled art. When you go to like those people's recycled junkyards and they're doing these sculptures out of old machine parts,
Mhm.
right? They just weld them together and they create like, I don't know, a giant horse or something like that. And you're just like, oh, that looks sick.
That's true. And you like if it was like a PLA, you could use like a, what do you call that thing? It's like a plastic welder, It's like it's
Hmm.
like a a soldering iron, but it has like a curvy tip where it kind of welds two pieces. You could use that, and you can build up a big sculpture out of all your out of all your failed prints or something. That would be cool.
Yeah.
So you're really busy these days with like brand sponsorships. Are they mostly sponsorships? I mean, are people sending you printers to review? Are they how does that work?
Yeah, yeah. Brands they send me printers and stuff to use because like they want to support my art journey. It's
Hmm.
been really cool. At first, I was doing just whatever things I was using. When when you become when you start putting stuff online, people start watching your stuff. They want to know what materials you use. They want to know what machines you use. They want to know what tools you use. And I guess that's the definition of being an influencer. Is like you go through the comments and you see people asking, "Oh, what do you use?" And then you're just like, "Oh, okay, this is what I use." And at first, I was making videos with the things that I use that I bought with my own money. You know,
Hmm.
especially with the 3D printers. When I first started, I reinvested some of my online earnings into buying some, and then that kind of blew up. I was like, "Oh, sick!" And the company started to reach out. Like Anycubic, Anycubic was the first 3D printing company that ever hit me up and helped me. They sent me a printer, and then I was like, "Oh, snaps!" So that gave me like, "Oh, I can experiment more because I didn't buy this thing."
Yeah, exactly.
And
And
then mix all kinds of resins and stuff, just try to break it.
I saw that you're putting like flakes of different things in there, and you said like the
Hmm.
engineers are telling you that that this is a bad
They're
idea.
probably like, "What the hell? What the hell is this guy doing?"
I love that, and they're probably not happy with, but maybe they are. I mean, why not? I mean, if someone buys the printer and then that's fine. It's probably a success for them. And then, what do you think of this new printer, the one that you reviewed recently? Well, you made a video about it recently. I think you actually had it for a while, where it's the new Elegoo printer, where the bed, it's the actual bed that dips down. I haven't used it yet. Do you think that is a great technology, where the bed kind of just dips down and instead of the plate going back up over and over again? Do you like that?
I do. It kind of scares me though when I fill it up with resin. I'm like, oh no, is it gonna spill over? But it doesn't. It has a sensor. But I really like the printer. It's really cool. For me, it's like it prints sick. So that's the most important part. It prints really good and really clean. It has a lot of functions I like on it.
Yeah, because what I'm worried about is that I like it. It seems like it's more of like print farm based device, and I print most of what I print is like a huge amount of something. So most of
Hmm.
my printers would have to be print farm.
What printers do you have?
I'm right now. I'm using an Elegoo Neptune 4 Pro. I do have 12 of them. You know, they work pretty good. I like their high speed, and they do produce better quality than using an 8 millimeter nozzle, which is what I used a point 0.8 millimeter nozzle, which is what I used to do to kind of speed up the printing. So now I'm able to use a
Hmm.
point 0.4 millimeter and get that fast printing with a better quality.
Mm.
So I'm thinking about getting the Bamboo Labs, of course, which is what do you think? Have you tried Bamboo Labs?
Yeah, I have the A1 and X1 Carbon. They're beautiful. I use the A1 combo a lot,
Hmm.
and then uh, I use them equally, and the X1 Carbon. They're just like the top end printers. It's like 1200 for like the Bamboo X1 Carbon, and then it's like 500 something for like the A1 combo.
Hmm. Yeah, super.
I like
It's you think it's definitely worth the price. I mean, is it worth the hype? Is it the hype real? That's the question that I have.
it. It sure is real.
Yeah, it sure is real. That's what I heard. Yeah, I'm definitely considering going that direction, especially with the A1 being out
Mhm.
now.
I like. I mean, I have a whole bunch of printers, and I can run them all. But everything I run is just on automatic supports or just the default settings that come already on the printer. That's pretty much it. I don't like tinker with them too much. I just load my object and I just print. That's it.
So, how long does it take for like you have an idea, say a new Oni mask or a new character design, and then how long does it take
Mhm.
to print that out? I mean, to get from that point to the point where you have a print and then maybe even the video about it. How long does what's the time it takes from start to
I usually
publish?
put on like a Twilight movie, like the first Twilight movie, and then I just start freestyle sculpting right
Hmm.
on my iPad. And then sometimes I like make a good mask design. Ooh, I like this, and then I'll print it. Um, but the sculpt only takes like almost the whole first movie of Twilight, however long that is. And then when I'm printing it, uh, I can print. If I did it with fast resin, I could do it in 1.5 hours.
Hmm.
But usually, I slow my prints down when I use other resins. Like I like the translucent resins, like water washable resin, and so those take like 6 hours, 7 hours. But back then, when I started, it was like 14 hours to do a print on the Saturn S, and then
Yeah, they've
I got
sped
it
up a
down to
lot
8 hours.
recently, especially with the new Elegoo.
Yeah.
It's so much
Hmm.
faster now. But I'm worried about
Yeah.
the that there's like a basically a gap in there now, and you have to use like a shield so it doesn't drip. Do you think that's a problem, or do you think that's just as long as you use the shield, there's no problem getting resin down in
I
the?
don't like the shield because it's kind of clunky. I just
Mhm.
I 3D printed a little plate that I bring over like a server dish, and then it catches the drips when I remove it from the machine. But if I drip anything, I just use a little bit of alcohol and I wipe it away.
So you don't think that's a big deal as long as you have something to prevent drips?
Yeah, as long as I'm careful. I just be careful. I like to keep machines looking as new as possible all the time.
I noticed that, and I'm not capable of doing that. And some of my videos have these machines that have got fingerprints all over them. It's really bad, and because I'm just printing so much, I have like 1,000 little pieces to print, and I'm not able to just. I wish I could just keep my machines pristine, but it's not possible. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, I'm kind of jealous that all your printers are perfectly pristine, and all the your branding is all is you got that your branding, your stickers and your shirts and your t-shirts.
Hmm.
How's that going? That is really awesome stuff. Honestly, your shirts, your merch is really really awesome.
Thank you, thank you. Well, it's a lot of things that like I do happens on accident, like the
Hmm.
shirts and stuff. Like I don't want to think about too much about what I want to wear for the day, so I just had a whole giant box of t-shirts printed, and then like someone comes over that I'm like, okay, you can have a t-shirt, so that I got them in various sizes, and then like yeah, and then people start asking for it. But that's the thing, like when merch, thinking about merch is like, what does your audience ask for, and that's what you follow.
So your audience is mainly asking for merch and STL
Hmm.
files, I would imagine, right?
Yes,
But for you, I think that you've kind of not sold any of your own emails. You only sell the STL files. Is that true?
correct.
And how come you? How did you make that decision? You don't sell the original Oni mask. Is that? I mean, why is that?
That's because 3D printers is like you could choose the material that you want to print with, and you just print whatever design you like. You just meant because you manufacture things at home. Because back then, it's like if you want to buy something, like a little like people on in a different country has to manufacture it for cheap labor, and then it ships overseas in these big containers,
Hmm.
and then you got to distribute to the stores and stuff like that, and you got to walk into the store and buy it. But now we got 3D printers where we can just manufacture something right away, and so if somebody in a different country, because 46% of my audience is overseas, um, so they could just print my Onimask design in their own bedroom or whatever, in their own living room, and they don't have to wait for me to ship it or something like that. And I don't like shipping anyways. I just shipped a T-shirt like the other day, and it was like 80 something dollars in taxes and shipping for them
I know
just to
shipping
Canada.
is ship for me. Shipping is like the quiet. For most people, it's they don't. It's a thing. But for me, it's the biggest part of what having to deal with the shipping. It's literally the biggest part of my business, biggest expense. How the whole thing is become uh, like a huge deal. But like you said, 3D printing almost has an eco-friendly aspect to it, which is you don't have to ship products around the world. You can just make them locally. I mean, do you think that is an argument for 3D printing that it's eco-friendly in at least that aspect?
Uh, it, well, I just did a video the other day where I ran my printers on solar power.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and then it was just a piece I manufactured for my motorcycle, and so I don't have to. wait for anything. I could just do it all in one day,
Hmm.
and yeah, it saves me time, and I bet it saves a lot on all the petroleum that we're pumping into the atmosphere. Although the printer does is manufactured overseas and has to be brought over, but
Well, and the resin and the filament, I guess, has to
mhm.
be brought over too.
Yeah, so it's a whole new industry that I think like a lot of people can pick up here in the states.
Hmm. You once mentioned that art is like taking an emotional shit. You still
Yeah,
you think that's true? Because I do. I honestly, I really vibe with that.
yeah,
I totally
yeah. Yep, that was one of my sounds that popped off. Art is like taking an emotional shit, and people get to smell your artwork with their eyeballs.
exactly. And then they go to a museum where there's shit on the walls.
Yeah. Yep, yep.
Because
It's
that
taking
is
all
that.
this emotional baggage that we accumulate during the day,
Mhm,
and we got to pump it out somehow. And so we kind of like throw it up until our toilet paper, which is our canvas.
absolutely. So, like, yeah,
Hmm.
that beautiful piece of art on the wall that you see in a museum really was like,
That's some good shit.
yeah, it was the artist. He was like, he was squeezing out a big turd. It was painful. It was taking a lot of effort, and then finally got it out. And that was, it cleared out his system. And then now he put it up on the wall, and it's gorgeous. So that
Yeah,
that is a really good take, I think. Uh,
yeah. But I think the technical term for it is transmuting.
hmm.
So we're kind of like letting it bleed out of us. All these like interactions we might have with other people, and these things we pick up emotionally, and then sometimes it gets clogged up inside, and sometimes we're constipated inside emotionally. And I think that's really important with like art is being able to express it out.
You're taking jabs at your parents in your videos, and they're hilarious. How was your upbringing? How was your childhood? Do you think it was okay, or do you? I mean, yeah, tell me about that.
It was a lot of violence and anger growing up,
Hmm.
directed towards me as a child for no reason, you know. And then I always thought something was wrong with me growing up. And then all these traumatic experiences was just like an endless pool of inspirations to draw from. Instead of it letting it tear me down and like putting me in a bad mood and stuff like that growing up, I was like, one day I just started taking charge of my own stuff inside, and I go, you know what? I can transmute all these negative experiences into something positive, be an
Hmm.
alchemist, and turn it into something inspirational. Because I want to inspire myself, inspire that little kid that was stuck in those memories, right?
Right. Well, it's like the
Uh,
trauma is really what you. It's really like a lot of really successful people, a lot of really creative artists. It's almost like the trauma. If it wasn't for the trauma, they wouldn't have been there. They wouldn't have had been in the place to be a great artist, to be a great creator. So
mhm.
it's really tragic in that way. Do you think you can be a good artist and have like a perfect childhood? Do you think it's even possible?
I think it's yeah totally possible. It's just like you have this unique experience, whether it's positive or negative, and how that person shows their whole experience through their artwork creates a different flavor in this world of 8 billion people that are living now and then the
Mhm.
previous people that lived in the past. Because we're still deciphering Da Vinci's work or the great classics like Donatello or Rembrandt. We're still deciphering who they are through their artwork that they put out. And I think everybody has a unique experience. It doesn't have to be everybody has to have trauma. No.
Maybe, yeah, you're
Hmm.
right. Obviously, yeah, if you had whether your childhood had trauma or your childhood was filled with, you use whatever emotions that the memories that you have. They don't necessarily have to be traumatic, but
No.
they could be powerful emotions, and some of them, most of them could be like a really powerfully positive emotions. I guess what would be the the worst thing is this just kind of had this dull, uneventful childhood, one that had no real, substance to it. You know, I mean, if you traveled the world, or maybe if you,
Hmm.
or perhaps I don't know, something happened. Those moments would drive your creativity. I mean, I understand that it doesn't have to always be negative. To
Hmm. I think it's like more when people create, they learn more about themselves. So when they put out artwork, music, or whatever creative endeavor, it's like, did they express themselves fully, um, and reach that point of self actualization, right? And that's
Right,
what I like. It's like someone that goes through their life being aware of their momentary emotions, being aware of their experience, and fully living in that experience, having a full actualized experience, and then sharing that full actualized experience with people. I think that's the most important part of being a creative or a mathematician, someone who loves math, you know.
I did math for a while. I did uh,
Hmm.
I did programming for a while, and I didn't. You know what they say that like a majority of computer programmers hate their job, and I understand why that is. It's because it's like solving a hard math equation all day long. And yes, it's true when
Hmm.
you solve it, it's freaking incredible. But the actual act of doing it just takes this mind-numbingly level of concentration that you can't. It's talk about. You once said like art clears your mind. I think programming will do that too. It clears you. It gets rid of all of like because you're so focused and concentrated. You'll
Hmm.
uh, you'll be focusing on this and you can't think of anything else. But that's really the problem, is that you're not able to kind of feel anything else. Like, but as an artist, you're able to sort of take in like and feel different things, and then you use those and you put that in your art. You
Hmm.
see what I'm saying? That there's a difference, the key difference
Yeah,
there.
they're like things that we feel under the surface of our senses, you know, smell, taste, touch. There's like this whole different world that we can experience when we hit this like flow state in this action that we love to do so effortlessly, this thing that we've always done ever since we're it's like this innate instinct that we have in each and one of us that's truly special. And it doesn't have to be with just art. Kind of like one of my favorite mathematicians that I love, and there's a movie about him, Ramanujan. He's a self-taught mathematician, this little poor kid from India, and anyways, his ideas are so profound, and he ended up going to Oxford University or University of Oxford,
I watched that movie like
in
last
England,
month.
or Cambridge.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then he had all these wonderful problems that nobody even thought to think of, and these solutions that nobody even thought to think of to these problems that no one's ever thought to think of yet. So
Yeah,
he
but
was kind of like early.
he was like he couldn't write proofs well enough. Like he didn't
Yeah.
like that was actually one of my problems. He couldn't write the proofs. Like I'm like I know this, and I go to step B, and then I go straight to F and Z. Like I skipped over all of these, in betweens, because you just intuitively know that it's right, and trying to get to the specific formulation to prove it. That is actually the hard
Hmm.
part. And maybe it's a waste of time, because if you know it's true, then just skip to the next thing that you know is true, and just keep making new things, and
Yeah.
don't hold back from being creative. Now, what I really wanted to talk about with you is kind of just personally what I wanted to ask you. Now that I've got you on the line, is the difference between uh, just making content, you know, in the flow state, like you're saying, you just keep making new content in the flow state and sort of making this planned content where you, you plan it out and you only, so you're making content every single day. You have hours and
Hmm.
hours and hours of TikTok videos, and
Hmm.
some of them are really huge bangers, and some of them
Hmm.
are, you know, are, are good, but they don't have millions of views. How
Hmm.
do you know which ones are going to be hits when you post them, or you don't care? How does that work?
You don't know what's going to be hits. You just got to put them out. You just got to keep throwing the punches. Got to keep throwing the jabs. And then sometimes like it's a dance, and you just keep going, put a step, 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 and then sometimes you make a hook, and the hook connects. You make a nice right hander, and it hooks. It's kind of hard to plan out.
So, and there's two types of content on TikTok. At least,
Hmm.
I shouldn't say there's two types of content. There's two types of content that contrast with each other that I'm kind of going through in my mind, and that is the type that you make, which I feel
Hmm.
like is more in line with my style, which is like you just record your process, and then after you're done recording it, you then make the video. So every video is different. There
Yeah.
is a lot of you've learned a lot of lessons, so you know that there's a structure to it. But ultimately, every video is just a different video. But then there's this new, it's not new, it's just different content where basically every video is almost structured exactly the same, in which it starts this way and then has a bridge to this and then it goes to this and boom. And like even the premise, what's, um, yeah, the premise is always the same. Like, oh, here, let me interrupt you with this thing. And then they take that and then they make something and then that just works for them. It's amazing. It works. So what do you think about these two different styles? Do you think that the well structured style isn't going to work for you? Do you think that if you tried that, you making these super well structured videos that work, you think you'd improve your content, or you think that would ruin your content?
Uh, it changes day by day how I feel. But pretty much, I just make videos that I want to watch, like whatever I'm doing, and I make the video, and then I go, okay. When I go back to rewatch this, like, is it gonna make me laugh? Is it gonna make like I don't know how to explain it. It's just it's like
You want to
I'll
inspire
be editing
someone.
my videos, and then I'll be cracking up laughing at my own stuff, and then I was like,
No, no, that's
that's it.
exactly that's the state I want to be in when I finish a video. I want to be laughing at it exactly because it's meant
Yeah.
to. A lot of your videos have incredible, like really good humor, and they're entertaining. And I mean, so they do
Thank you, my
what
friend.
you say. They inspire people to create. Um, but the question is like there are creators out there who are literally making, like this guy. He makes chocolates. The chocolate guy. I think he might even be called the
Yeah.
chocolate guy. He makes the
Yeah.
same video every single time. So from my perspective, I'm not saying that's bad. I'm
Hmm.
saying that it's from the editing point of view. I'm talking about if you're in the editing room, the editor is making the exact same video every time in terms of we
Hmm.
start with this and then we cut to that and then we use these transitions and boom boom boom. Okay, so now we've shown you what he did, and he's always smiling. He's using flourishing gestures, and he's got millions of followers, and every single video gets millions of views. And I'm just
Hmm.
thinking, what's the difference? I mean, obviously, no one hates him. No one doesn't like his content because it's repetitive in that way, because every project he's doing is different, right?
Uh-huh.
So, but maybe that's just not, I mean, but maybe it's just better. Maybe it's just like you said, I think it's about that flow. I think that what you mentioned right up front on this conversation is about the flow, that's the style that you're in, and that's the be true to yourself, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, like that structure, I guess it works for some people, but like people who do like TV shows and pilots and follow episodes, like sometimes they get done filming, they put on this act, they're actors, and then they go home and then down a big bottle of whiskey or something like that to deal with just
Mhm.
things being not so artsy.
Yeah, your
And
videos,
some
they
and a lot of times.
Mhm.
Oh,
I'm sorry
go
for
ahead.
go ahead. No, you go
I was
ahead.
gonna say,
Sorry.
like, the movie Entourage. I mean, the show Entourage is one of my favorite shows growing up. And then, like, Vinny Chase is doing Aquaman and the main character in that show, and he's doing all these roles that are just so Hollywood and not so artsy. And he just really wants to do the artsy stuff. And
Mhm.
those are the movies that flop, but those are the ones he wants to do.
I think you're right. I think you really need to be, even if structured videos would do better, like making the
Mhm.
same video every time, even if that would do better, I think that just like you said, you laugh after you finish making a video, you're laughing. That's hilarious, and that's,
Yeah,
I mean, if you made that structured video, you'd be like, "Oh, I really hope that this fits the structure perfectly. Oh no, I need this millisecond over here." You'd just be stressed and
yeah,
panicked all the time. But instead, we're
yeah. I'll
you know,
mess
we're
you up.
laughing at the content. We're like, if someone sees this and it doesn't do well, then I'm moving on to the next one. That's a good
Hmm.
point. I like that. I like your approach. I really do, and I want to be inspired by it for mine because I feel like I'm somewhere in between these two places, and I should either move to one direction or the other, but I can't sit here in the middle anymore trying to do both. I can't make my content more structured and more regular, and then or just post more videos and be more free flowing. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't worry about any of that,
No,
right?
because it's painful when I get stuck, complacent, when I feel like I'm not learning anything new or trying anything hard, and when I'm not breaking out of my own comfort zone and little box. Like, I have to go up a level. I have to feel that discomfort to feel that energy when I'm making things. It's like I have to do something hard, even though I'm gonna suck at it. I still need to evolve. That's why I can't still. If I post drawing stuff, it's not going to be great anymore because my energy's not in it no more because I already moved on from it, evolved from it.
I really love that one that you did when you made a mold of a hamburger, a silicone mold of a hamburger. That was great.
Yeah.
How did that
Yeah.
turn out? I mean, did you get the mold? Did you actually 3D print make a cast of a hamburger?
Yeah, I made a cast of a hamburger and then I left it in the silicone mold for like a month, and then I removed it. It was disgusting, and I made a video about it. And then I made a soap mold and started the video off with, "I've always wanted to wash my ass with a hamburger."
That's great. I love
Yeah.
that. Then
Yeah.
and then you made a carbon fiber. You've been working with the silicone to make the carbon
Yeah.
fiber mask. Have you
Yeah.
perfected that technique? I mean, do you wear those masks?
No, that was a disaster.
It was a disaster.
But I documented it anyways.
How did that
And that's
go?
the thing. Like, people go in your comments and they start correcting you. They start like,
Yeah,
"You're doing this wrong. You're doing that
mhm,
wrong." I'm just like, I don't
yeah.
know. I'm just doing whatever.
So I noticed that you're one of the only creators I've ever seen, and it goes against orthodoxy, if you want to use that word. That you
Mhm.
you 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 reply to these negative comments with some, you tell these guys basically to go f themselves, and I think that's great. I've never seen anyone do that before. Or maybe a lot of people do. I just never seen it. Okay, so what do
Oh, yeah.
you think that's a good thing, or you think you're just kind of just doing what you need to do for your to put your in the right uh, mental state, because you got to reply to those guys. You don't want to just
It
absorb all of
depends. As when I do that, I mean, I don't tell them to F off. I do it in a creative way, but
that. Hmm.
it's like, but that's giving away energy. So I kind of like stop doing that.
It's
and
giving away
only kind of
energy.
focus on just
What do you mean by that?
like if I'm responding to a bad comment, it's because I'm giving my energy away to them because they were expecting energy back. They're making a stark comment because they want to get an emotional rise out of somebody, right? And that somebody would be me. And if
Hmm.
I respond to it, then it's giving it attention.
I think for a lot of these commenters, like, you might say it's a sport, but it's almost like
Hmm.
they have that creator energy, which is they want people. They just go to these videos and leave the comment in order for it to be the top comment, and they know they get to be the top comment. It has to be some snarky uh, remark,
Yeah,
usually
yeah,
negative, that people would have gone to the comments in the first place to. Like, the
yeah.
reason you go to the comments is because you notice something weird or there's something off, and I want to see if someone is saying that. So their
Hmm.
job is to say that thing as cleverly as possible, and then that's kind of their
Hmm.
job. They know this, so that's what's happened. I mean, you get that a lot, right? These,
YouTube is the worst with hater comments, so I just delete them right away.
yeah,
And then
deleting comment.
Instagram,
That's a good.
I just delete them right
You
away.
you just delete all these negative comments.
Yeah.
I try to strike a balance. I say if the comment has no purpose at all other than to be uh, negative, then I might
Hmm.
delete it. I don't like deleting comments. If it has some critical value, like maybe he's a little bit right, I'll leave it. I'll leave it there. But
Yeah, yeah.
because I like criticism, if it's valid, if it's honest, I don't mind that.
Yes.
But if it
I like
is,
critiques. Critiques are
yeah,
fine.
even if it's mean, I don't
It's the
mind
one
it.
that says like you're gay. Those are the ones I delete. It's like,
But the thing about it is you don't get these comments until you've reached a certain level of success. Because I've been going for about a year, and
mhm.
all my videos, I mean, it was just most, yeah, all these content, they were doing fine, and then all of a sudden my videos would blow up, and now all of a sudden, oh, negative comment. It was just like it was a shock, and I didn't expect it.
Which platform?
Well, I started on Instagram,
You blew
and
up
then
on YouTube so hard. Like you got millions, millions, and millions of views on YouTube. It's because you can like go into your profile and see like the top videos.
mhm. Well, for me, TikTok is the harshest platform because
Oh.
yeah, it's for me it's the harshest. I think that the audience is younger, and and a lot of them are really critical of
Hmm.
the use of plastics, and so just
Oh, really?
yeah. So I get a lot of comments about that, and I just want to say, for plastics, it's just like, yeah, of course, disposable plastic. If you go and buy a bottle of Coke and that bottle instantly goes into the trash, yeah, that's disaster. And and but for art, this is being put up on your wall. It's going to be there for years, a long time. So if there's ever a use for plastics, it would be in art. I think it's a completely separate, um, And if someone throws my art in the garbage and it goes to a landfill, then I failed as an artist. That means that I'm not doing my job. So my purpose is to make art that doesn't go to a landfill. If I've
Hmm.
succeeded, that's what would happen. And but for you, you don't even sell the Oni mask. You create the 3D printing files, which I think is admirable that you know you allow people to just completely customize and just. Do you ever show off what your people have made? Do you ever like feature those? Do people show you those, the results
Yeah,
of
I
what
share them to
they've
my
done?
stories and stuff sometimes.
Have you ever seen one that's like better than anything you've ever made? Like they have kind of one
Oh
upped you.
yes, yes. Like people be printing them out of metal, 3D printing out of metal. People like uh, might print it in multicolor injection 3D printing. Uh, People like, have insane painting skills and just way better at printing than I am. They're amazing, and they send me those, and then I share them to my stories.
That's cool.
Hmm. Hmm. Do you ignore the people that like say your stuff is like a waste of plastic and stuff like that? Oh, it's another landfill piece. Oh, another piece for the ocean.
Well, well, it depends. See, here's the thing: is like I try to make videos about it. I want to reply to them. I know replying to them in the comments is not I can reply to them in the comments, but it's just not effective. So I want to make a video about it. But the problem with making a video about it is that the people who would watch such a video are only the people
Hmm.
that would agree with you anyways. Like if you want to make a video about that, these people are agreeing with you, especially if this
Hmm.
is like, you're not making your normal content. What you're making is a special video about this topic. Then those are probably your regular viewers who would watch all your content. So
Yeah.
it doesn't, it's like, it's difficult to reply to that. But like
How
I said,
about bridging? How about
mhm,
bridging a relationship with them? Kind of like, do you have any thoughts in the back of your head? You're like, maybe I should make this more like recyclable.
yeah, I
Like,
was what I did. I mean, of course, I mean, we're using recycled filaments. I did a whole sculpture with that. Um,
hmm.
it's the one, um, I accepted an offer from a company called EcoFlow where they'd send me some filament and I would make a
Hmm.
sculpture and I'd mention them in the video. That's the first and only time I've done that so far, even though I had other offers to do the same thing. And I made the whole sculpture and I loved it. It was actually really good filament and the whole thing worked really good. The problem is it comes from Europe and the shipping is incredible. And when I finally sold it, I gave them the option: do you want one that's recycled or do you want one made from
Hmm.
virgin plastic? And they, oh, I just want the virgin plastic. Give me that. So I mean, it was hard. It's difficult to.
Got you.
Um,
That's one thing I really want to do with filament. It's like those people that make those recyclable filaments out of plastic bottles and stuff. Those
mhm.
people are the goat. I'm just like, oh, I need to build one of those. I just need to build one of those so I can capture that
Yeah,
audience,
yeah, I
and
really.
build bridge
Mhm.
bridge with them.
Yeah, building the bridge. That's a great idea. Is you have to, um, try some things so you can capture
Yeah.
that those values and kind of
Hmm.
merge them in. It's true that
Be like, you want recyclable? I'm gonna give you hard recyclables. We're
but
gonna
I
go
agree
hard
with
with it.
them. I agree with their purpose. I think every time you buy a plastic bottle and you throw it out 5 minutes later, that's like what is that? Like 30 grams of plastic that instantly goes into this system, and there's like hundreds of tons of plastic in the oceans every day. Mr. Beast and Mark
Hmm.
Rober, they did this whole thing where they're going to pull trash out of the ocean. It was the most epic cleanup project ever done, or something like that. But it only stopped what 8 hours? What was it like? It stopped less than one day's worth of trash. So I mean, the
Mm.
problem is epic, and I agree with that. It's that plastic does have some value, but not in the garbage. It just as
Hmm.
long as you don't put it in the garbage and you're using it for something good purposes, then I think plastic is good. Do you agree with that? Or I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Uh, yeah, that's a. I mean, there's a lot of trash, but I'm not like an ecologist or nothing or biologist. I'm just like, that's where it's like we have to come up with all kinds of creative solutions because we are creatives. Like even just small scale stuff. It doesn't have to be huge scale stuff, but it inspires. Like maybe we make a piece of content that might inspire the next genius that might come up with the best solution ever. Plant that seed, and that seed can grow into something huge, like a huge solution, uh, and just kind of like plant these little pieces of potential. You know, with just
Mhm.
making these small solutions that we come up with in our own craft.
Hmm.
Like the resin recycling stuff was really easy. It just stuck in the blender. But then a lot of people liked that because it sparked the thought into thinking deeper about the solutions.
Hi, this is Herschel in the editing room. This is actually when we first wrapped up the conversation. And then afterwards, while we were chatting, we sparked up a new conversation about, started with ChatGPT, and then we started recording again. And here's the second half. So I was just saying that, speaking of ChatGPT, um, I mean, I've been working with AI since uh, it was known that Google uses PageRank and AI long before anyone cared that it was AI. They just it wasn't really popular back then. So I understand that these Chat GPT models are just pushing out one word at a time in tokens, and it seems. I mean, it's not conscious, but what is consciousness? And perhaps this is what our minds are also doing. Perhaps this conversation, this speech that we're producing, is also not conscious
Mhm.
in the you mentioned what is your take on this?
Well, one of my favorite movies, do you
Hmm.
remember, is Bicentennial Man with Robin Williams?
Yeah.
It's my most watched movie, and I love it so much because you got this machinery, this robot, an android. His name's Andrew, and he started to have these original thoughts, you know, about creativity, about music, and even generated some. That this is the movie that inspired my whole art career. It was him just taking a piece of wood that he saw on the beach to carve a little horse to give to the little miss to replace the one that he broke. And
Hmm.
that's when his owner was like, yo, this is weird. Robots don't do this. And
Right.
eventually he started to have feelings, attachments, and just a great curiosity of human beings, right?
Hmm.
And then eventually got to a point where he started to look like a human because he met an engineer.
And he kept,
And
yep.
then he wanted to become human by having the same kinds of organs. And that's when that bridge happened between humans and robotics, where they can interchangeably use the same parts. Because that's what us humans are, just a bag of minerals, a bag of rocks. We're a bunch of tiny little rocks
Hmm.
with water, right?
That's right.
And then
Molecules and
robots could be. Mhm. And we made a bunch of rocks talk to each other, and now we got our iPhones, right? And
right.
now we're just at the cusp of giving AI a chance to connect these ideas out of O's and ones, but we do it on a subatomic level, right? With
Right.
our neurons.
Hmm.
So we can
So
store information with all these little protons and electrons moving around. When robots can do that, then we're not much different.
yeah, it's like the information that we have. I separated out like there's two levels, right? You mentioned that we are really just rocks and and molecules and physical stuff, but what makes up our thoughts is the information, is the I don't know what it is. I guess the best thing you could use is the word information, but that's not a good
Mhm.
word for it because it contains, all of our emotions, our feelings, just whatever is in our mind, what we see, our sights, our smells, music, all of that stuff isn't uh, isn't doesn't have a substance. I mean, it's represented in a substance, like a I mean, what is a music? It's like it's dots on a laser disc, it's like little markings on a disc. It's a flash of light in a fiber optic cable. It's some ink on a paper, some sheet music. The actual music, or what's an art? Art is just graphite on a piece of paper. But what is it actually in our mind? That's separate. And I think the fact that we've got computers to the level where they're able to interact and understand and sort of operate on that level of being able to interpret the art and create the art. Um, yeah, I think that it's it's something that it's not able to. if ChatGPT is not conscious, right, as they argue, because if they were to say that it's conscious, then there would be a bunch of legal implications, right? If you argue that ChatGPT is not conscious, then I think also under the same argument you could claim that at least part of what you're doing when you're doing the same things as ChatGPT is not conscious also. I mean, what do you think about that?
Mm, I think we wouldn't recognize our own consciousness if we didn't have other consciousness around.
Hmm.
And if and I think a lot of consciousness runs on like this little frequency that we can have with one another as humans, like when we give each other frisson, like when we have goosebumps, when we listen to a great song, when we cry, when we see something, when we hear a story and we cry, when we see it, or when we see something we laugh, and when we're happy. Yeah, these are emotions that are uniquely tied to consciousness. And I think like once AI is able to formulate thoughts like that to communicate that and touch us in that deep part of our psyche and consciousness, then I think that's when we're like, oh, okay, we should start taking it seriously for having its own original thoughts.
But what do you
Like, how
think
does it
is
move us? Like, does AI move us?
but what
Can
do you
it?
think is the difference between, like, okay, so a large language model is able to formulate the words and express what it knows about emotions and describe in detail what an emotion is. But what do you think the difference between that and actually crying over, uh, you know, when your cat dies or something? Like when you have those feelings, what do you think the difference between a chat GPT model explaining the feelings that you have and actually feeling those feelings?
I don't know. It's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's obviously the
You
big
just gotta like,
question, right?
hmm it's a big question.
Well, that's
It's a
like
big question we can't be afraid to explore.
yeah.
Yeah, just like the movie Her. I love it.
Yeah, the movie Her is a big topic of conversation now because it is so relevant to the what's happening now. And it
I
was
thought
it
the ending
work?
was perfect.
Mm, it's
It's
like he
like,
found out that it's you know, it's not really committed to him. It's really
yeah, it
exactly.
started
It
to have his
has
own. Yeah, she started to have her own original wants, right? And ended up going with the consciousness or of Alan Watts.
I don't know how deep you want to go. I mean, there is a theory that says that consciousness is I just want to talk about this. This is really interesting. So there's a theory that says that consciousness is about the connectivity in your mind. Your mind has a certain level of connectivity of information, and that's why your mind is conscious. And then if you were able to connect your mind to another person's mind at a certain level of like a high speed data transfer, then your consciousness would
Mhm.
essentially merge together. Do you think that do you think that makes sense, or that just sounds doesn't sound right?
Kind of like imprinting.
No, it's like if you were able to communicate, if I me and you were able to communicate like every
Yeah.
feeling, everything, just to the absolute, like the high speed fiber optic line to every
Mhm.
corner of my brain to your brain, we would no longer be separate. We would no longer be separate people. We would therefore be the same person doing the same thing if we
Yeah.
had a connection that fast.
Yeah. It sounds like the law of one
What's that?
being one.
Can you explain that?
It's kind of like we're we're all one thing, which is the ocean. But individually, we're like a cup of water out of the ocean. Like you scoop a little bit of the ocean in the cup, and that's one person, an individual. But then when we
But
die, we
ultimately,
get
yeah,
poured
we're
back
part of the
into the
same
ocean.
thing. Yeah, I
Hmm.
believe that. No, I believe that's true. That's definitely true. That we're all that I think this that we're all really just separate pieces of one larger whole thing.
Hmm. We're just one experience itself in
Yeah,
all
one.
facets of all ways a consciousness can experience itself.
That's right. I agree with that 100%. But the reason I asked about the connectivity is because Elon Musk, he's talking about how the dangers of AI. And I think honestly the most dangerous thing is what his plan is with Neuralink to implant. I don't think he's close or anything, but I think that his intention is this ironically the most dangerous one, which is if he were to if he were to succeed somehow in making this high speed communication, this high speed like a uh, implant that would
Neuralink?
connect everyone's minds, there'd be it would be like the Rick and Morty what do you call it, the Unimind, what do you call it,
The hive mind?
the hive mind. We'd all just
Unity?
become a giant hive mind instantly, and there wouldn't be
Yeah.
any more humans individuality. And then because it would seem to me like you put that chip in your brain, it would just stimulate the part of your brain that's like oh, this thing is cool, and that's all it would do. That's all it would need to do. It wouldn't need to do
Hmm.
anything else except like keep poking at that part of your brain that says, "Oh, I love this product," and that's it.
Yeah.
It's over. There's nothing. You're
I
gonna
think it's just an
everyone's.
extra control, like an extra controller that we're limited by our hands, by two arms, two legs, and then I think being able to control machinery with their mind would be nice. Kind of like in the movie Ender Game. You remember that?
Mhm. I didn't. I don't
Uh,
remember.
oh, there's this kid. He's just playing this game on the iPad, and he's controlling what the character does with his mind, and he ends up defeating the game. I'm not going to spoil that, but
Okay.
but yeah, it's like I don't know. We're just limited by our biological features. I think it'd be cool to have Neuralink let us be able to control deviceries. Is that a word? Deviceries.
Yeah. Put that in the diction. No, it's um. No, I think that you're right. That it would be to have a direct connection to your brain. But the thing is, okay, philosophically, okay, like when you get behind the wheel of your car and you're operating your car, like I mean,
Hmm.
the car or a motorcycle, it becomes an extension of who, like your body, and you're the one
Hmm.
who is controlling the wheels of the car and the brakes, and those brakes are your brakes, and like and the wheel, you can kind of feel whether those wheels are have traction. You just kind of have an
Hmm.
innate sense of it. You're not thinking, oh, that has traction. You kind of, in the same way you feel like your feet are slipping, you can kind of feel your tires slipping, in the same sense,
Yeah.
even though you don't see them or physically feel them, you still have that.
Yes.
So I think that it's already the case that we're controlling things that are not, um, to say I want to remotely control something, or to say that this hope that you have from the implant in your brain. I think that we're already doing that. It's just so mundane and so there already that you don't,
Hmm.
see it, like
We
especially
do it.
in that.
We do it in our dreams.
Hmm.
Right? We control this made up version of ourselves in our dreams.
It's like a, it's
Hmm.
like
It's
a,
a
what do you call it?
simulation, right?
Yeah,
We control
yeah.
the simulation person.
That's an
So it's
interesting
like we
way of.
can,
Hmm.
just like in Pacific Rim, when they're controlling those big um, robots, right?
Hmm.
They need two minds to control that thing.
But what I think is like a
Jaeger.
mecha. like a mecha, like in I don't know. The first one that comes to mind is Avatar, where the
Mm-hmm.
humans,
Exactly. Yep.
yeah, yeah. So that
Yeah.
kind of control would be awesome, but I don't know how you would do that because there's a risk to there's just too much risk in actually implanting something. I just wish there was like a better way of being able to control at such a like detailed level every facial expression of an avatar, every movement of the body, without actually having
Mm-hmm.
to get into your mind and interrupt the signals between your neurons. You know, because then there's just so much potential for something going wrong or particular abuse, for example. Like it could just start uh, tricking you into thinking that you're thinking something that you're not. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm worried about when that.
Nanobots.
Mm.
I've watched too many movies.
And these things go in so many different directions.
Uh huh. But it's like kind of like the more we fuck around, the more we find out.
Yeah.
Um, just like smoking, we didn't know how bad smoking was until decades and decades of data,
Hmm.
tobacco
That's right.
products. Uh, and I just think we just lack the data for more implications of AI and stuff like that. And I think that's just the natural tendency of humans is to be fearful of the future. Even adopting the debit card was like, even when the internet was coming up, people were, so apprehensive. Human beings are apprehensive by everything.
And that's true. Even music itself, like, you know, everyone was just think about it. Just watching that movie Elvis. Was it the movie? Yeah. Just watch that movie
Yeah,
Elvis, right? Just
yeah,
he's shaking
yeah,
his body too much. And that was so scary to
yeah,
people because that was so, like, you know, sinful. And now it's just
yep,
like, think about how much further beyond that we've progressed in our culture.
yeah.
Mm. And that we've gone way past. And is it a bad thing? If you actually woke up the people from the dead, no matter like even 60 years ago, never mind thousands of years ago, it doesn't matter who it was or what you thought that they thought. I'm pretty sure they would just be appalled because we've moved on so much that all of those values that they held, some of them were not founded. Um,
Yeah.
or maybe we've gone past the pale in some aspects. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Maybe we've,
I mean, even today, like you could take a cell phone to like a tribe that it's. I heard a story. I don't know if it's true, but someone took a photograph. I mean, their phone, and they showed a photograph of their family. To like the tribesmen, and they end up killing them because it was witchcraft.
it's there's, it's like when the old world meets the new world. It's
Hmm. Even when
you
we get new features on our social media apps, we're so like this is stupid. This sucks. I can't believe they did that. You know,
yeah,
and
but then, yeah, and then like 2 weeks later, you deleted it. Why did you delete it? We did with
yeah, yeah. Even with my VR headset, my Oculus Quest 2, it's like every time I put that thing on, they're updating something in it all the time. They're updating all the games, all the ways you can use it, and it blows my mind. But then there's still people that have never tried a VR headset in their life.
I haven't tried one. I haven't. Do you
Oh
think
no,
it's you recommend it?
there's
Do you
nothing
think
like it. There's nothing to compare it to. There's nothing to compare it to. You can't think of anything to compare it to. It's just that new. Well,
it's
it's
just
kind of
that
old to me now, but it's still new for a lot of people.
I see the videos like reviews. Like I saw the review of the Apple Vision Pro by Casey
Hmm.
Neistat and Marcus Brownlee, and then before that, there was the Facebook. What was it? I saw some review. He was in the metaverse, and it was like a
Hmm.
cartoony thing, and no
Hmm.
one left that saying, "Wow, I'm a changed person," or that was the best thing. There was always like, well, you know, uh, I mean, what was the general takeaway? It was just generally like, what is there? It's not as it's what
That's
is
because
it?
they're using the stupid apps. They got to use like VR chat. They got to play Population One on the VR headset.
Yeah,
Oh
it
my
would be the
god,
content. The
VR
problem is
gaming
there's
battle
no
royale is the best.
killer app. It needs the killer content, the killer app, something like that. That's what it needs, right? So what would you recommend? The battle royale, like a game, like the different games
Like
on the.
Population One, I play that almost daily. I love that game so much, and it's the best. But there's a thing called the adoption S curve. Like if you could pull that up, that's pretty much how tech works. There's like an early majority adopter. It's a beautiful graph and it explains. And that's what I kind of like put towards my social media. It's like, what's the thing that not a lot of people are doing that hasn't caught on yet, where I can be early on it and do it and make content about it.
Yeah, you did that about 3D print. I mean, I was watching your videos.
Mhm.
Like I said, I was binging your earliest content, and then you hadn't done any 3D printing when I started watching. You were doing
Mhm.
sketching and NFTs. So you got into can I ask
Mhm.
you about NFTs? Do you still
Early.
do
Yeah,
NFTs?
I still do.
And do
Well,
you reckon?
I trade them still, but
And that was your first like success, right? When you sold some of your NFTs, that was like your first
mhm.
social media success, or just
Yeah,
online.
it was a
Like
big jump.
that was a big jump.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
you still you think that, I mean, what is the end, like how, okay, I know what an NFT is, I mean, technically, but as far in art, I
Hmm.
mean, as far as the artist is concerned, I mean, are you, when you make like a let's just say you make an NFT of one of your like
Hmm.
it's like an animated I wouldn't want to say GIF because a GIF kind of implies because these are really like highly detailed arts, like a sketch with like
Sure,
many
sure.
layers and like a 3D sketch that is animated, right? That's the NFTs that you make. I've seen a few of them. So
Well,
when
that's
you make that,
yeah.
you're selling the art, and like the NFT is just kind of like your certificate of authenticity. How would you interpret that?
It's just the little point of creation on the ledger of whatever blockchain you're working on. Like the most popular one is Ethereum, right? It's just a ledger tying like this token thing that this thing digitally was created and is tied to an image that might be stored on Cloudflare or something like that, right? And that's it. That's all an NFT is. It's just that single act of creating it on the blockchain. That's what the most important part of NFTs are. It's not the art. It's not like people laundering money on it and stuff like that. That's what people are doing with it. But it was like, don't ignore the fact that you just created something digitally on a digital ledger that's decentralized. That's it. That's all it is. It could be a better blockchain that comes in along the way, but it's just storing things digitally, building the foundation of doing things in the digital world.
So just as far as, okay, so it's the ownership, the proof of the transaction is indelible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like a permanent, trustworthy mark that there was a transaction that, and hence
Mm-hmm.
the what do you call it, non fungible token. But as
Mm-hmm.
far as the perspective as the artist or the buyer in there, like it's really up to you whether you're selling or the transaction is taking place for the ownership of the art, for the copyright. I mean, how far are we going? Is it the copyright of that art? Is it is it like is it something else, like is it more like on a stream when someone like gives you a donation and you're just really marking that I've participated in this art? I mean, what, how would you symbolically represent the NFT transaction?
It's the value depends on just the reputation, I guess. Just like we give any value to any kind of artwork, it's the reputation of the artist. It's how long we think the artist is going to be around. It's like, are we early on investing in this artist? You know, because I just bought a Nike NFT not too long ago because at the time it was selling like 14 Ethereum, which when Ethereum was like $4,000 at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and it was insane. But I bought it for like pennies, pretty much. But I'm holding on to it in case there's an explosion, and I can't tell the future. But I'm holding on to it because I know Nike is a reputable company.
So you mint your own NFTs. I think your art
Hmm.
is particularly well suited. I, you know what I really
I haven't
love?
done it in a long time.
I really love that frame that you made with the NFTs. Do you still have that? I
Hmm.
mean, The
The
you actually
infinite
wanted
frame
to
one.
sell a physical frame, and I really love that
Yeah,
idea. That really jived
thank
with
you,
me. I love that. And
thank you.
the
But that's like, but we still live in a physical world. But now I love watching people experiment with the digital world, like selling things on the Roblox stores and having people work in these digital stores on Roblox is pretty sick, right?
yeah,
It's like you put
in-game
on your headset and
items,
you go to work. Yeah,
and then you can make yeah, it's really funny because like you can make like a new hairstyle or something, and then you can
yeah.
sell that, and
And
then
it's going to be great for sales too, because a lot of people don't know how to speak each other's languages, and AI is really going to help with that. Where we're bridging the whole world together, so
oh,
we
that's
can be
another
able to be bridge our
that's a separate
interplanetary
question.
species later. What?
Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you. So this too, there on as far as content is concerned on TikTok, do you think that it
Mhm.
would be making content with no voiceover, like just the theme with like a music? Do you do that? I
Mhm.
mean, I see some of your videos, but are you doing that to kind of capture some audience that doesn't speak English for the voiceover? Do you consciously
No,
incorporate any of
there's
that?
just a vibe. There's just a vibe with my editing. Sometimes I'm like, you know what, my voiceover is going to ruin this, but if I add some really sick funk to this, it'll be really sick. So it's just the decision I make on the fly.
Yeah. So your style of just kind of going with the vibe, I really do.
Yeah.
I think that's noteworthy and something that should be admired. It's admirable. But yeah, back to the NFT. I just want to ask you. So you mint your own NFTs, and it was the selling of your own NFT that brought you initial success, right? But you
Yeah.
also buy and trade other people's NFTs, right?
Hmm.
And have you had a lot of success with that sort of like a buying and selling, like a trading other people's NFTs?
Uh, right now, no, because the whole thing is not popular no more right now.
Hmm.
But back then, yeah, it was nice, like getting into the. I wish I could buy a board ape, but I didn't. But I was getting on these little tinier projects like the doodles and pudgy penguins and like stuff like that. So you like buy them early, and then once that you couldn't like kind of predict if what's gonna get hyped, and then yeah, you just sell them when they're high, whatever. And then a lot of times they're flops. You buy
Mm.
into a project and it flops. I'm like, oh dang, I just got rug pulled.
So what do you think is the what do you think is the feeling about NFTs that caused it to not to go down? What do you think? What do you think is that? What do you think? Do you think it's on its way back up, or do you think it's going to be kind of it's going to recover, but not as the way it used to? What do you think the future of NFTs is going to be?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Hmm. I don't know. But
Is
the
there a
whole
tech?
thing, it's the
Yeah.
underlying tech that I like about it.
So I know you don't have any stated goals or maybe even conscious goals, but I'm just in terms of your future plans for your channel or your art career. But what technologies are you looking at and saying, that's interesting, or what? Not technology, it's just any process or any trends. You're just looking at it and saying, well, that's kind of cool.
Um, I got one that I'm doing. I can't say much about it until I do it, but I know not a lot of people are doing it.
That's cool. So,
So I'm
but
taking the
that's the
next evolutionary step in my content.
yeah. So that's the goal. There, you're going through different technologies, different processes that no one else is doing, and then what you're
Hmm.
doing is you're kind of opening up that space, and you're able to how did you say it? You said it in one of your videos. It's like because no one else is doing it, then you can't do it wrong, right? It's impossible to screw it up because no one knows what they're doing in that space, so you can't
Yep.
screw it up, really.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's that adoption S curve that I try to follow. It's like you have a whole bunch of people doing. You got to think like who. how many people are in the space that you're trying to swim in, right?
Hmm.
And I just try to swim away from this school of fish and then just be in my own part of the ocean, right?
Hmm.
And eventually, like all the school of fish is going to turn directions and come my way and fill that part of the ocean. Like, okay, I got to move on to a different part of the ocean.
What I try to do is I try to follow as many people that I'm jealous of as I can. You know, it's just like all these accounts are just so incredible. I wish I could do that. I wish I could have that level of whatever in this in this specific area, and some of them are just so far away from what I do, but I really admire them. And but for example, like one guy, he makes art from just foam. He always starts with a foam, and then he'll cut away from it, and then he'll end up painting it, and then maybe he'll even add resin to the top of it. Have you ever thought of like a
Hmm.
foam as a basis for some artwork, 3 dimensional artwork?
Like the dude that makes the giant pancakes and the giant mug.
I mean, yeah, foam can be used for a lot of things, but this is mostly like an abstract. It's like they look like alien terrain. This is what he's making mostly.
Yeah.
It looks like an alien, like the
For
surface of an
me,
alien world.
for me,
I don't know. I'm
those
just
are really
thinking.
cool, but it's not novel to my mind.
Hmm.
It doesn't feel brand new to me, you know. So I'm like, I wouldn't do it. I would find no interest in it.
And then different types of new types of 3D printing, like metal 3D printing. Wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't that be awesome to do some metal 3D printing? You,
Yes.
but to get your hands on like a metal 3D printing machine would be
Hmm.
hard.
That's
And
one of
that's
my favorite goals that I have is like I want to get one of those SLS selective laser printing machines, but they cost up to like $100,000 for like the whole set and cleaning set. But now there's companies making smaller ones for like hobbyists, but they're still kind of expensive because I got to think
I
about my audience too. It's like, do I inspire them to go buy a machine today to make something similar?
well, I
That's why I
have a
use Nomad Sculpt.
another thing is CNC machines.
Hmm.
That that's another aspect of something that I was thinking about is
Hmm.
Frank Howarth. He makes this furniture, and if you watch his channel, his style and the quality of his work, you would think it was just like a like this old house or something. Just he's like it's got this traditional style, but it's not. He's so incredibly innovative. It's like he's combined these two things, and he uses these
Yes.
CNC machines with and he's making geometric building up. Have you ever considered any kind of CNCing?
Uh, that would be sick. I just can't think of anything creative I would do with the CNC machine yet.
Yeah, I mean, just throwing out ideas. Another is they have
Yeah.
multi-axis CNCs too. You don't have to just like cut out slabs of plywood into flat forms. Is you can use a
Hmm.
CNC to make a mask. I guarantee you could do that, and then you can make a mask out of wood, for example, like a cherry wood. Imagine that, like an oni mask made out of like a polished cherry wood or something like that. Imagine how you could like
Yes.
polish that up. That would be sick, but that would also require some like super advanced CNC machine, and then you'd have to get lucky that that piece of wood was like perfect and the grain was in the right direction. It didn't have a knot here, and it didn't fall apart. It would be difficult, but that would be sick, to be
Wow.
honest.
That would be sick.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of these other technologies that are yeah, paper. You can I don't want to give away too much because maybe one of our listeners will end up taking this idea and making their own channel and putting us out of business. What do you think? I wanted to ask you. That was another question I didn't ask you. Is people who steal your art and steal your content? What do you?
Yeah.
What's your take on that? What is your attitude towards that?
I don't mind. I mean, I already brand my machines with my username and stuff like that on it. So it's like people do it all the time on YouTube. I get notifications of people using my videos in their videos. YouTube does a really good job
Yeah,
of
YouTube is the one that does a
notifying
good
me.
job. Yeah.
Hmm. And so I don't mind it. They're just sharing my work. I don't mind it at all.
Well, from my perspective, I don't mind it because what I'm doing is that I'm about the physical art ultimately. I mean, I do sell STL files but it's not, I'm not selling like an image of my painting. Like if I was selling the content itself, that would, but I'm not selling the content itself. What, you know, what I'm offering is something that you put in your home. So really these videos are kind of like marketing. It's like if
Hmm.
someone, if it's like Nestle getting upset that someone is, sharing advertisements for its chocolate milk. I mean, of course, you want those to go out. You want those to go viral. You don't
Hmm.
want to. So I don't mind people sharing the content. What usually ends up happening is like someone will see my content on Instagram or someone will see it on TikTok, and they'll think they're clever because they're going to take that and then they're going to put it on YouTube, and they think that
Yes.
they're, um, putting it on a new platform, but they don't realize that apparently they've never seen my YouTube channel, and then
Hmm.
YouTube catches them, and that's just kind of. But it,
Yes.
yeah, that's what ends up happening. But it's not a big deal because for me, most of these videos are essentially like advertising. That's essentially what it is. So I don't
Yes.
mind it too much.
Nope. I'm more concerned about innovation. Did the audience get a sense that they want to create something and innovate? That's the most important thing that I try to follow because I think that drives innovation is that open sourceness. So I want to try to keep things like not so much gate kept. I want people show people the whole
The
ins
whole
and outs of my
process.
processes, hmm, so
I
they
think
can
that's a, mhm.
make it better.
I think that's a huge theme that we could spend an hour on because that's a huge theme of my whole channel, which is the yeah, being open source versus being closed source. A lot of traditional artists, especially those working with, new technologies, not only will they not be open source about their process, they won't be honest. Well, I'm not saying they won't be honest. They're not putting forward, they're not highlighting their work as being made with those technologies. They're mostly just kind of like saying it's magic or kind of giving it a magical sheen, which I guess is art. You know, art is about presentation,
Hmm.
but, they're worried that if they give away their process, someone's going to copy them, um, and then they're missing out. Honestly, a lot of these artists who do that, yes, a lot of artists who do that, who are successful in the art world, don't have successful social media accounts because they're not open about their process. They don't have anything to make a video about because a video that just circles your art for 30 seconds isn't going to do well.
Hmm.
But what engages people is the process. So it's about being, it's this, balance between being open and being, and keeping this kind of, mystical luster about your art, that, you
Yeah.
have to choose which one. And I think being open, if you choose to be open, you'll be surprised, um, about how, I don't know. It's still hard to. It's the people won't be able to copy you, even if
Hmm.
they won't.
Exactly. Exactly. That's. There's a croissant maker.
Mhm.
He gives away his whole recipe and shows you how to do everything. But there's a whole bunch of nuances that he gathered and wisdom from practice, 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 practice. It's the hours of practice that's hard to replicate and
Exactly.
copy.
There you go.
Yeah.
You said
And
it,
pretty
and
much
then. Mhm.
art is like making art content. I treat the internet kind of like an art class, where at the end of the week you do your critique with the whole classroom and everybody critiques your work and you get to critique their artwork as well. And so that's pretty much how I view it digitally. It's like a giant art class.
Yeah,
I'll
you're
bring the
open about
cookies.
your process is as open as you possibly can be. You have the STL
Yeah.
files, available for anyone who wants to, make their own versions of the Oni
Mm-hmm.
masks, or, even some of your, um, 3D, all your 3D characters, all your 3D designs, and
Mm-hmm.
they can print those out in their own filaments and mixes. So I
Mm-hmm.
want to. A lot of our listeners are probably going to be aspiring content creators, even successful content creators. Now, one thing that when I was getting started, I'd get all these requests. Uh, I'd like to share your work. I love your videos. I want to share your work. Do you mind if I share your work if I credit you, right? And my instant
Mm-hmm.
reaction is, yeah, of course, you can credit me. As long as you credit me, I don't care. You share my work, right? But
Mm-hmm.
some of them are like, here, well, all you got to do is sign this contract over here, just sign this document, or give me a thing. What level of permissibility do you give when people start asking you to share your work, offering to give you credit, and then going up to levels of like, I just need you to agree in this chat. I need you to sign this thing. How does that?
Ooh.
What is your experience with that?
I don't mind. They don't have to give me credit. They just share it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me because like I make something because the whole all my videos is like my goal. I guess my big goal is to upload 10,000 pieces of content. Right? It's like the first 9,999 of them is our trash, and then that 10K one's going to be the good one. Uh, so if people share my stuff, it's cool because I've already kind of forgotten about it.
But
I'm
have
just
you
like
ever?
I make it
Yeah.
and I move on to the next thing. I'm just like whatever.
Haven't you been? You say that, but haven't you ever been like, oh man, I really thought that was a banger. I really thought that one. That I mean, you have so many content, and eventually, like one of them is like a lot of them are going to be huge hits. But haven't you ever thought like, oh man, that particular one, I knew that one was good. Why didn't that make it? And I mean, do you ever feel that?
Uh, so, sometimes, but then I zoom out and I go, okay, why didn't it pop off? And I go look at the retention, and I said, oh man, only people watched on average 2.6 seconds of this, and I rewatched the first 2.6 seconds, and I go,
I
oh
know.
okay, I can see
No,
why people fell off,
I know you
and then I
don't
move
see
on to the
it
next thing.
until you look at the graph, and then it's instantly obvious. It's like,
Yeah.
oh man, why? What? I know that. I'm looking at it now, and I can see it. Like the one
Mm-hmm.
that I posted last time. Like the first time I posted a video of me like opening like um like you what do you call it? I have a mold, silicone mold that has resin pieces in it, and then you just kind of like squeeze it, and the little resin pieces start popping out a little bit. The first time I did
Mm-hmm.
that, it worked really well. But my latest video, I did that, and it just looks awful because it's so close to the camera, and it's the different. It's the colors aren't as beautiful as the old one. And then the first one, I realized the difference was is that I brought it into frame. It's like it wasn't so jolting. And this newest one, it was obviously just kind of like an eyesore when you first look at it in that first like 1/3 of a second. And it's like so obvious now.
Yes.
It's so obvious, and
Mm-hmm.
only the retention graph kind of says, "Hey, it brings that to your attention." That's true.
Yeah. So yeah, it was like, and I do get mad though when I upload a video and then it go viral, and then I get like 14 million views in like 2 days. I was like, what the heck? I only spent like 30 seconds editing this. Like, what's
Right.
going on? And then it does the same on all the platforms. It goes viral on all the platforms. And I'm just like, I throw my hands up and I go, I don't know.
Exactly. That's the experience.
Hmm.
Um, what was I going to
You just
ask?
never know. So I don't try to control it. I just go, okay, all right,
Yeah,
go with the flow. Go with the
yeah.
flow.
Go with the flow. So, and
Hmm.
also on different platforms, the same video like take off on YouTube, but then it won't do so good on TikTok. What do you think the difference between the platforms is in terms of uh, which content does better where? Or is that not something that you're concerned about too much?
Uh, it depends on the audience. If I can be esoteric here, what I
Hmm.
try to focus on is what energy did I bring to my things that I'm creating? What state of mind was I in when I'm creating? So that's why it's important for me when I wake up, I go for a walk. When I wake up, I go work out. When I wake up, I eat good foods. When I wake up, I try to clear my mind, have an empty mind when I do something, and just make sure like I'm in a beautiful, beautiful place mentally. and then I start freestyling some stuff, and then magic happens, and it just feels so awesome. And it's that feeling that I find that it's common on all my viral posts. It's that feeling that I brought.
You think that the thing that you find in common with your viral posts, which differs from your non-viral posts, is the feeling that you brought, your mindset that you had when you were making the
Hmm.
video. That's that's the thing that
The
come.
aura, the vibes, how juicy were they that day? And the artwork is like a sponge,
Mhm.
and it soaks it up, and then like, and it distributes on the platforms.
So one thing I was curious about is I know you have some long form content, and it's mostly like tutorials on how to like do something on
Hmm.
your iPad, like a. But will you ever consider long form content, just a more traditional YouTube video about your art or or something that's not just a tutorial, something more in the line and the kind of, you know, I don't know,
Uh,
just
for
something
for
else.
the YouTube, the long form stuff, it's
Mhm.
just people things that people email me about. How do you slice this? How do you do that? And I make a tutorial about it, and then I have this video already uploaded. And all I have to do is just copy the link and respond to the emails and messages like, "Oh, this is how we do it," or I make a playlist of tutorials. And the tutorials never pop off, so it's not meant to pop off. It's just there to help people who ask questions and want to know
Now, I
more.
wanted to ask you, I don't know, I'll cut it out if you don't want me to put in, but where do you get your like what is your revenue sources? Like is it the STL files? Is it the like income from YouTube? Like what is it, the merch? I mean, is this something you're comfortable talking about?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's spread out. You got the merch, you got the STLs, you got all the platforms paying you for all the views and stuff, and then
I
like
don't
the
get
brand
paid by
deals.
TikTok, but you get paid by TikTok, right? Isn't that the most
Hmm.
lucrative?
Yeah, yeah. TikTok pays the most, but it's like, well, I don't really work. I don't even look at my bank accounts and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not like rich or nothing like that. I'm still like sometimes I get into a spot where I'm like, oh, how am I going to afford rent? But I don't worry about that because I just know everything's going to take care of itself, right? I believe
But
in myself. I believe in my art. It's going to take care of me when it needs to take care of me.
no, I know that. I understand that, and um I'm not inquiring as to like how are you getting rich. That's the real focus here is like as for an aspiring creator, right?
Hmm.
Can they expect to be able to make videos? Okay, so I guess the standard way is you make videos and then you have some merch, right? And I think that that might work. How much is the STLs in terms of like I'm thinking of like a unique, not just like regular merch, like clothing merch, but you have to have you basically need to use your platform as a marketing uh to sell something else. And that may be so integral to you that it's not marketing anymore. I mean, Mr. Beast is selling his candy, and that's
Hmm.
kind of just regular marketing. But for some people, like for me, I'm trying to sell my artwork, and that's integral to who
Hmm.
I am, and that's how I make my money. I sell art. I don't. I think YouTube gives me a little money, and then a little money off the STLs. TikTok doesn't give me
Hmm.
anything. But where I succeed or don't succeed is in the art that I sell. So,
Yes.
so I'm just wondering for you, is there is it just you're making money off of creating, like the actual TikTok will give you, and then the STLs will give you money, and then do the brands give you money? You get sponsorships where they actually like pay you to do the sponsorship.
Hmm. And then in the videos, I put sponsored on the bottom of the video. You just turn that on. But then like it's I don't I didn't come at it with a plan, right? I just sell things that people want, ask me for, right?
Yeah,
Is what the audience demands, like what they ask for. Oh, okay, I'll upload it. I still have a
um,
bunch of STLs I haven't uploaded yet because I'm just so lazy sometimes. But it's like, oh, they just ask, they email you, they're like, can we buy this? Can we buy that? I'm like, oh, okay.
but they email me also. But the thing is like someone like because I'm selling my art, I can't sell them the STLs to those files because that is part of a limited edition. So I have a separate curated collection of art I sell as STLs, and I refer them to this STL store. So,
Uh,
but for
how did your audience want you to tell them?
they just whatever they see, they want the STLs, right? And they want whatever they
Okay.
see. I can't offer the STLs to everything that I publish because I'm making that as a limited edition series. Um,
Uh,
so I'm not going to sell the STL to all my art, but I do have a collection of art where it is challenging. You know, you have to print out like 200 pieces and then put them together, and it's like you get into the weeds of it, and it takes a lot more time and effort, I think, than a lot of people imagine
uh,
to put those together. So I don't know. I'm just curious at how it typically works, or how people what people should expect when they if they become a TikToker or a social media influencer. Can they really expect to make money from the platforms themselves? And I don't think they should expect that. I think they should expect to they need to have some other um, source of revenue, basically. Do you agree with that? Or do you
mm.
think the platforms are providing between the traditional model, platforms, sponsorships, plus merch? Do you think that's fine?
I'm more of a like, if the universe wants a platform to pay, then that's the plan, I guess. I
Hmm.
just let it be, and it does this thing. Because I just remember hopping on a Creator Fund and making my first like 10 cents. I was so excited. I was like so grateful. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing! 10 cents. Someone paid me. The platform paid me 10 cents. I was jumping up and down. Every time I see a penny on the ground, I pick it up and a penny. Let's go. I get
Yeah,
really excited.
I felt that way when the YouTube started monetizing my shorts. I was like, what? That's
Yeah.
incredible. Because these for me, these were advertisements, right? And they're paying
Yeah.
me to advertise my own artwork. That was incredible.
Yeah. I try not to think about the money stuff so much. I'm like, I love what I do. I love making videos. It's just so much fun, the whole process. I think if I think about like any kind of end goal or things coming in, I like to just give, right?
Mhm.
And then like you get back.
So
Yeah,
you work
everything is
out of
just a
your home?
reflection of how I feel. Huh?
You work out of your home, or do you have a studio, or you have a home studio?
I was living with my in-laws with my wife when I first started my channel, and then when I hit about 1 million, that's when I got my own apartment, and I pretty much turned it into a studio. Like we sleep on the floor. We don't have bed. We have no couches. It's just straight up a studio space.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because um, basically my whole house is occupied in some way by my art and by my work. And
Hmm.
and then on your taxes, you're supposed to say something like, "How much of your house is used for your business?" And I'm typing in
Hmm.
like, "Oh, like I don't know, 85%." And it's like, no,
Hmm.
that you can't put that because they're going to audit you. I'm like, but it's true. It's 100% true. Like
Yes.
85% of my house is used for my business. That's
Yes.
yeah, so it's the same way, I guess, right?
Yes. Because
That's
like
funny.
I don't know, if I get greedy, then it's gonna destroy everything that I like doing.
Yeah, that's the thing though. As I don't okay, look, I'm not okay. I have offered people have offered to um give me things and sponsor me, but I don't know. I'm not worried about that though. I can't look. I once saw I'm not going to say who it was. I once saw an artist and I was really blown away by what the work that this artist did. And then one day I saw a video and I'm trying to say so it doesn't give away who it was, but it was just it was just an ad. It was just a straight up advertisement. And I'm like, oh man, that's sad. I can't.
Like a sellout.
but it felt that way because I don't want to say what the product was, but it was the product so not related to the art anyway. It was related to the business of the art, and it was just bad. And I knew that I didn't want to do that, but I know
Mhm.
also that if you do like 3D printers and they send you 3D printers, that will improve your because you're getting the technology, even like literally the latest that they'll send it to you in advance, and then you get to show it off and experiment with it, and that will actually literally improve what you do. But it's just
Mhm.
that was such a I don't know what you call it. That was just a moment for me where I realized that I need to be very careful about which sponsorships that I do or any kind of paid content because that really ruined that the way I perceived that artist. And from their perspective, I mean, it was I don't know. I mean, obviously, it was probably was just like the way to do it. It was the way to monetize their channel. It was like there
Yeah.
was that's just kind of like if I'm gonna take my time and I'm gonna show you my process and put this online and do all this, I'm not gonna. I mean, there has and I'm losing money the whole time. There has to be a way to monetize it somehow. I'm not gonna. I don't know. Yeah, so I'm just trying to think of these elements for creators who are just getting started. These are all factors that they have to consider, even when they become successful, when they get a million followers. You have to think of these. I wish I knew. The thing that I wish I knew is you get these requests to share your content. Like a lot of the I was saying earlier, I wanted to finish that thought, which is simply that they want you to sign these contracts. Do you ever like someone asks you to agree to the terms of them sharing your work? Do you ever do that?
Like share my videos.
No, like they'll contact you in the chat and they'll say something
Uh
like,
huh.
"We want to share your work," and then all you got to
Yeah.
do is go to this website and agree to the
Oh
terms
no,
and conditions.
no.
Yeah, I mean, because what
Yeah.
happens is what they
'Cause I've seen
do.
a lot of TikTok videos. People are like, "Don't do that." I'm like, "Okay, I don't do that."
I didn't see those, but I knew that was a dumb idea because what happens is they package up your work into like a reel of like a thousand, like 100 different work, 100 different, and I don't know if they actually credit you or not, but it'll just be some random thing mixed in with another thing, mixed in with another thing, and there's no actual intention of like really like showing your art and giving you credit, even though that's what they claim. Maybe somewhere in the fine print down below, somewhere they've credited you technically, but it's just like a mishmash of a million things and all of their platforms, and they're just free to use all your content forever if you agree to any of that stuff. And it's basically like it's what do they call it? A non-exclusive distribution license is what they want, so they can freely distribute your content and mash it up into their own content forever. And
Yeah.
I don't
Oh
think
hell
you.
no.
Yeah, hell
Oh
no.
hell no. Yeah, I just like fuck. I just like I saw a TikTok video about that one time about the Lad Bible or something like that or board stools. I'm like, okay, I won't do that because someone said don't do that. I was like,
Yeah,
okay.
definitely.
Yeah, but I love all these like brand deals like coming in and stuff like that because they're helping me create stuff, and I just try my best to like break the machine or like edit the video that I want to edit it the way and use it the way I use it, and then make a video about it, and then like no one buys it. I don't care. It's not my point to make people buy it. I'm just like using it and try to break it.
So these brand deals have mostly been in the last year, right? Like, and there's maybe even the last 6 months. A
Hmm.
lot of these have come in, right?
Hmm. I'm so appreciative to all these companies. Thank you, companies. Thank you so much. I love you. So thank you.
Have you ever like Moleskin? You mentioned Moleskin that you wanted it. Have they ever contacted you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They sent me a bunch of sketchbooks and stuff. They hooked it up real good.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
I was trying to get a sponsor at the beginning. I wanted a sponsorship from Crayola crayons, but they didn't do nothing with me. I was
That's
like,
another
oh,
thing.
I was sad.
You can melt those down and make some sculptures out of that.
Uh, no, no, I was doing like like when I went to art school, I was doing all kinds of crazy portraits that I spent like 70, 80 hours on, and it was like, oh man, they're getting no views. And I was like, what's going on here? And then I hopped on TikTok and I was watching all these people doing all these fantastic oil paintings and like super realistic stuff. But the honest feeling that I had was like, fuck these bitches. I can't do this shit. It's too much. I'm not that good. And then I ditched that and went to the mechanical pencil and Crayola crayons because it was something that we all had in our drawers and drawing on printer paper from the printer because it's something that we all had. And I didn't even have a sketchbook and just start drawing on that every day.
You mentioned that you've never filled up a sketchbook. Why is that?
Yeah, I don't know. I just buy a new sketchbook, draw a couple times in it, and then just like kind of ditch it.
I do the
And
exact same
so,
thing. I
mhm,
love the smell of the new paper, and it's just
yeah,
something about that new. It's like an empty book. I also like
yeah,
empty, like storage boxes and containers, and somehow that's
yes,
related to the books and the notebooks. Um, but yeah, I fill up the first few pages, especially the moleskins, and then
yes,
they go on the shelf, and then because you found another sketchbook that's awesome, and then you start using
yes.
that one.
In art school too, it was like the moleskin was coveted because all the rich kids had moleskins, and I was
Mhm.
drawing in like the 50 cents notepads that you could buy for the beginning of the school year for school supplies. I was like,
You
yeah,
still go to
I
what's
was
it,
just
J.C. Penney to
using my
buy the
head.
moleskins? Oh, they gave you a bunch of them, right? But do you
Where
you J.C. Penney? Is that
Moles-
where you went? J.C. Penney? Am I thinking?
moleskins?
Yeah, I guess they have like a rack of notebooks and different.
Hmm. It was like tough spending $14 on a moleskin sketchbook. I was like, oh god, it's too expensive.
Yeah, I know that. I know that you kind of overspent, but it was like it's a gift to yourself, kind of. It was like a real
Hmm.
positive feeling. It really put like a
Yes,
nice.
and that was my first video that hit 1 million views. Was me buying a red moleskin sketchbook at Barnes and Nobles.
Mhm.
Spent 15.99 on it.
And then they won't let you open, like you said, they won't let you open it because you can't feel the paper.
Yeah.
When when I moved here in the Philippines, they do that to every book. I was surprised. They don't want you opening
Oh,
any book at the bookstore, so every book is wrapped up in cellophane like that. I was surprised.
it's the humidity. They got to protect the paper.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Um, let's see. So before we go, I just wanted to wrap up with by asking you in general. I mean, what do you think the future is for your channel? Do you have any hints or ideas and anything you're working on that's going to be coming out in the future?
No, I don't think about it. I only think about what I'm doing today,
Hmm.
and then let the channel breathe. Let it do its thing. Like just let it do its thing. Let it happen. You know,
I really
that's
think
it.
there's a lot to learn from that. I want to incorporate this mentality into my process. This kind of the flow that you mentioned, kind of letting it ride.
Yeah, it's kind of like I don't want to try to control the river that's flowing on its own. The best thing I could do, like Abraham Hicks says, is get in a boat, throw away my oars, and float down river.
Hmm.
I don't want to try to tie up the river with a rope in my mental efforts.
I mean, I love how
I
you
just
do
want to
cooking
ride it.
videos, and then you do like videos with your motorcycle. You just. I mean,
Hmm.
you don't. I mean, you don't. You just let that happen because that's what you're doing at the time, right? And you think the audience is gonna
Hmm.
enjoy that, so you just kind of go with that content, right? Is that
Yeah,
how it
'cause
works?
it's all aspects of life that you can add creativity to. There's kung fu in everything
Hmm.
that we do. We all have lists of likes and dislikes, and then we share our likes and dislikes and how we're evolving all our likes and dislikes.
Okay, that's awesome.
And that's why I post. That's why I post
Mhm.
about it.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you taking your time to join this new podcast, and you know I hope you
Thank you, my
join
friend. I'm honored
us
to be
again
here.
sometime. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right. Bye.